It's the way that Joe Budden struck a nerve for me. Yeah.
Y'all already know what time it is. I got the black V-neck on.
What's going on, you all? We have got to talk about this Joe Budden and Drake situation because as long as we have been following Drake and his career, I have never seen Drake act like this before. I have seen signs of it. But to this level of, nerves being struck, and we've seen it recently with his clapback towards Charlemagne, when Charlemagne said that him and SZA put out a song, it wasn't nobody talking about it. Like, Drake is shaking. And I think Drake is shaking because the decline of Drake is inevitable at this point. I think we're seeing the beginning of that. And I actually am working on a video about that for Patreon because I have some thoughts. But we've seen Drake throughout his career be very successful. The albums were giving number ones, all the things being talked about. But the last couple of albums have not been good. Now, y'all know I am not the music girly when it comes to conversations about music, rap, all that other stuff. I specifically focus on brand and other things like the image, how we feel about the personal opinion about Drake, where he's at, but not like the work, how we can perfect it, but the writing, all the other stuff, the beats, I'm not in the studio with Candy making beats. I don't know nothing about that. But I think we are in the beginning of it, and I think Drake does recognize that it is happening, and it is happening right in his face. There's been some conversation about Drake's album hasn't been good since Scorpio. And I will say I'm not a big Drake fan, but I definitely have listened to his albums over the years and have enjoyed them. But now it just seems like he's just putting out music like every 6 months. Every 6 months there's a new album. And it honestly reminds me of when Beyonce spoke on her Life is But a Dream documentary. Which one I just did a video about Beyonce and that on Patreon. Check it out. It's controversial. But in the documentary, Beyonce says that a lot of artists have to put out music constantly. Constantly, because they can't afford to be missed. And I think that the way streaming is and the way, the labels and stuff want us to always be consuming their artists and continuously spending money, that it takes so much from the artists that they are not in the ability to be able to sit and just create. There's so many things. Me and Deshaun did a video about, Chloe Bailey's, new project and the labels and, A&R. It was a very, very insightful video. Definitely go check that out. But the labels are push out. And I think Drake is doing that. And I don't even think Drake is not even signed to a label. He's putting out his own stuff, but he's continuously putting out projects. He's on tour right now. You know what? In the video that I did, I spoke about, is Beyonce broke or is she greedy? But now speaking about this, I'm wondering, and I did talk about other celebrities and artists and stuff being broke as well, but not broke in the way that we see it, but broke in a different type of eye. And I think that, honestly, I think Drake is one of those artists as well. I think a lot of these artists lost a lot of money during the pandemic. They were not able to do these big successful tours because, as we know it, these artists make money off of touring and deals and stuff. And the pandemic decimated that. They were not able to do as much. So they had to rely on savings and probably debt. They probably charged up some stuff. A lot of people had to. We've seen credit card debt go up over the last couple of years, and we've seen interest rates jump up. So a lot of folks are in debt, and I think that artists like Drake, Beyonce, and even Taylor Swift are not immune to that. And I think we're seeing that right now. Yes, it's cute for them to be on tour and putting out, but I think these folks are hurting. And they ain't hurting you know, for $2,000 will change my life, or maybe pay my mortgage or rent for 2-3 months will help me out. But I think they some $1 million in debt. Because you have to also think that these folks are paying taxes. A lot of them trying their best not to pay as much taxes, which is funny because some of y'all don't even pay that much in taxes, consider how much money y'all make. But they also have to pay these significant tax bills and stuff. And I think that we're seeing that. There's been a lot of conversation about Drake and his tour not being that good. Like the arenas are not selling out like they like he thought they were. He had to pull out on some of them. And you know, recently when he performed in Atlanta, I think they were dragging him and booing him because he forgot the lyrics to his own songs. But you know, we've been saying for the longest, these male rappers, they get on the stage, they don't know what they be doing. They just be on, they could get on there and just absolutely do nothing. You could not pay me to go sit in a Drake concert. You couldn't pay me to sit, I just would not do it. What for? Drake has never been, I don't remember any Drake performance on anything that is maybe like, oh, I want to see Drake perform. Girl, y'all come out with a chain, some cute jeans, and some Air Force Ones. That's it. Or if I'm going to see a girl perform, it's going to be some of these female artists. It's going to be a lot of female artists. The only male artist that I have sat and paid attention to has been Lil Nas X. Like, I paid to go see him perform. But there, of course, are a lot of other, especially local male R&B artists who are out here doing it. But the male rappers, oh girl, they're just not giving it. They're just not giving it at all. But I do think that Drake is starting to believe the critique and criticism that is coming from a lot of folks. And Joe Budden struck a nerve when he said that he needs to be out here, you know, hanging with adults his age. He needs to be hanging around folks his age or older. Like, you need to be making music with them, not these 20-year-olds. Stop hanging around these 25-year-olds. He had a friendship with Millie Bobby from Stranger Things, and she talked about how he's given her dating advice and all that other stuff. And it just, you know, this isn't like this is somebody who Drake is in family with or something like that. This is another celebrity who was a minor. Now, Millie Bobby is an adult for all intents and purposes now, but she talked about like her friendship with him. And a lot of folks thought that was weird. And we know that Drake has had very interesting relationships with women, and how he moves with women and how he disposes of women when they are, you know, not interested. A lot of us have picked up on Drake's obsession with Rihanna and wanting to date her and wanting to, you know, be with her. And Rihanna just wasn't interested because Drake is corny as hell. And we now see in one of his songs that he's apparently taking shots at Rihanna, which is not surprising. This is something that Drake does. We've seen him do that to Megan Thee Stallion a couple years ago, taking shots at her. Drake responds with the most soft, quote unquote, misogyny, which is not soft, but he's able to display it as soft boy misogyny. Some folks have been calling it soft boy misogyny. I'm not sure how to feel about that, but I think he is able to play it off as soft because of how people see. They don't see him as violent because he is light-skinned and he is read as desirable. And they don't see him as a threat as much as someone like, they don't see him the same way they see Future, but they still get away with it. Like, Future's still a trash baby daddy for all of these things, but Drake, how he does his music is very, I'm for the bros and F the hoes. Like, he plays it up. And his response of Joe Budden's critique tells us how Drake feels. So Joe Budden in a podcast was basically just, you know, saying a lot of things that we've been saying. So Joe Budden offered a critique on his podcast, and he basically just said that this sounds like Lil Yachty rapping. I'm gonna let y'all listen to it.
This is like Yachty rapping. This is like he rapping for the children. And that's my, yo dog, I had to look up how old this was when I finished listening to the album. Mm-hmm. You are 36. Your birthday is in 20 days. I Googled that too. You will be 37 years old. Get the away from some of these younger niggas and stop fucking these 25-year-olds.
Now, what's interesting about this is Joe Budden is telling Drake to stop messing with these 25-year-olds. And there's been conversation about Joe Budden's baby mama being way younger than him, and even younger when they were talking and had a child. So it's like the call is coming from inside the house and maybe inside the podcast. But we know how, these men get when they get in front of these microphones and stuff. So Drake responded and he said, Joe Budden, you have failed at music. You left it behind to do what you are doing in this clip because this is what actually pays your bills. For any artist watching this, just remember you are watching a failure give their opinion on his idea of a recipe for success. A quitter give their opinion on how to achieve longevity. You switch careers because the things that pop into your brain had you broke, living check to check, and the raps you write have 450 men showing up to your shows in dusty and Nietzsche jeans to screw up their face to Mood Music 29 and pretend you are the GOAT. Please, to any artist that's doing what they feel is right, don't let these opinions affect your mindset after the fact. This guy is a poster child for frustration and surrendering. You retired and we never hung up your jersey. We don't even remember your number. Damn. We know you for doing this. You withdrew from rap, not because you accomplished all you need to. It's because it wasn't working for you. I never want anybody in the generations to think that the whole everybody's entitled to their opinion is a real thing. This is a man projecting his own self-hate and the fact that I did and continue to do everything he wanted to do for himself. If you need it, put it in simpler terms, I own a 767. He owns a modest house in the 973 and flies first class on special occasions. Honestly, I don't see the point of you needing to own a 767 or 747 or any of that. Like, goes back to what I said about these artists being broke because they're spending money on stuff like this. It's nothing wrong with flying a commercial plane. If you have the money to fly first class, so be it. I'm not flying first class. I don't have that type of money. It depends. If I'm going 10, 12 hours, probably so if I can afford it. But this is a response for somebody that was hit. Drake, if he had all of the money and he was not worried about it, there was no need to respond. There's no need to respond. If you're saying you this unbothered, then show us. Show us. Wait till it builds up. We would have been talking about this a week or two from now. We're talking about it now because you have responded to it. And that's all we've been talking about because you have responded to it. Now, the critique of Joe Budden said that he can't give a critique because he failed. I completely disagree. So here's the thing. Now I sound like my friend. I don't think that a person has to be on a very high success to give the best advice. There are vocal coaches who are very talented, have not sold millions of albums or whatever, but who are able to teach and coach a person to get to that level of success. There are sports coaches who have not gone pro who give the best plays and things. That doesn't always mean that they are not talented in that thing. And what Drake is trying to say is that how are you going to critique my stuff when you wasn't able to sell? That doesn't mean that Joe Budden is not knowledgeable and doesn't know the things. That doesn't mean that. I think Joe Budden does, when it comes to music, I think he does have an understanding, and he has to at this point because people are listening. Say what you want to say, but Joe Budden is saying something, and people are listening to it every week. Every week they're listening to it. And I don't think that is a read. I don't think this is a read. Like everybody's gagging over this. I don't think this is a read, to be honest. I think this is a look inside how Champagne Poppy feels about himself. Is that how am I this successful doing all these things and I am out here worried about somebody who's falling off? I think this is a peek inside the curtain of how Drake truly feels about himself. I think he's severely insecure. I think we've known that for a minute. I think that the jokes about him getting abs and the plastic surgery and all that other stuff, I do think they get to him. Like we see him at concerts, giving money to men to stun on their ex-girlfriends and stuff. We see him taking shots at Megan Thee Stallion when it's unnecessary. Like, Drake is severely insecure. And I don't know why. I don't know why, but I think it's very telling for somebody who's as successful as he is to be worried about it. Like, I don't get it. Like, I do not get it. But Joe Budden struck a nerve. Now, Drake and Joe Budden been going toe-to-toe at each other for years, to be honest. So this is not the first time. So Joe Budden responded and said, you'll grow up sooner or later. Father Time is undefeated. And that's that. I think that, honestly, Joe Budden won this one. If it's, you want to call it that, I think Joe Budden, responded and said, you grow up, like, that is what it is. And y'all know I'm the last person to agree with Joe Budden, because I have my critiques on him. But I do think that Joe Budden, ate Drake up. Now, Azalea Banks chimed in and she said, does Drake know his nose job and liposuction is not hip-hop? Does Drake know that no one who actually understands hip-hop, a culture born from oppressed, don't really care about his soft-toothed, colonized, confused, mixed-race face smile attempts to exhibit the true authenticity of an actual MC? Does Drake know his desperate attempts to gangsterize Canadian street life is an all-encompassing failure in and of itself? Now, Azalea Banks ate him up. And she ate him up rightfully so. And I do agree with Joe Budden. I think that we are in the beginning stages of seeing the decline of Drake. And I think that Drake is, he should. He should, because this is all he's had to offer is that I'm Drake. I'm Drake. Like, what you mean I'm Drake? So this is a little bit off the cuff. So follow me. And I want y'all to think about some of the people that you have seen in your life who are so used to receiving things. Maybe there's somebody you went to school with who was very, very intelligent, who always straight A's, all that other stuff. And then when they got to college and they were not able to excel, they struggled. Someone who you've seen always get compliments and always be rewarded for being beautiful, the moment that they do not get it, they are confused. The person who is used to receiving everything and then now it's just like, it's stopping. That is a world ender for a lot of them. Versus the person who's always been told no. And honestly, it makes me think of one of my favorite animes, Naruto. Naruto never gave up. Never. He was not talented. He was not good. He had trauma. He had all this stuff. Not saying that, whatever, with trauma. But Naruto was a person that kept pushing forward, even though he was told, no, you ain't got it right. You ain't got it right. Versus Sasuke, who was successful doing his stuff. Sasuke struggled not being able to be better. Sasuke really did not take it well when he was not performing better than Naruto. He didn't know how to take it. It was making him, crumble on the inside. And Naruto was just like, he just kept pushing to be better. And it just reminds me of folks who are so used to succeeding all the time, and in the moment something does not work out for them, they crumble. And I feel like Drake is one of those people. And I don't think that Drake is handling it well. And I think that while he's out here, making payments on the 767, he needs to be making some payments on all the therapy he can afford, and talking to somebody about this, because the misogyny that be jumping out with Drake will be discussed for years to come. And I think some of his relationships and his wanting to prove himself as black, even his son, because I told y'all before, I'm so tired of seeing pictures of that boy with braids, and I know his head hurt. But Drake is struggling with his own image and how he sees his blackness. Unfortunately, I've seen a lot of light-skinned people kind of struggle with this, and also saying that they don't see themselves as black while also being around a bunch of black folks. Like, y'all need to go seek some therapy. I've seen people like Drake struggle with their identity, and it's some self-reflecting that needs to be done. And I don't think that people like myself and all other dark-skinned folks are interested in holding that for you. Not when colorism exists. You have an issue with not being seen black, but you're around black folks. It's like, girl, pick and choose. Like, what were you? I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't know. But I think Drake is definitely dealing with identity issues and other things, and I hope he finds his way, because this is actually not cute. It's not been cute. The misogyny that he has been involved in over the last couple years with his music is disgusting, to be honest. And this is one of the reasons why I do not support him like that. I will never go to a Drake concert. I have no interest. He's not a talented performer, and just not interested like that. So these are my thoughts, girl. Y'all let me know what y'all feel about the whole discussion about Drake and this Joe Budden situation. Let me know in the comments, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.